Hello, pre-algebra students and any Math 6 students who are watching, just out of curiosity. I just want to kind of talk about a little taking a story problem and both writing an equation for that story problem and also then solving that equation. So I have two examples here. I'm going to start with the first one. Alex scored 13 points in the basketball game. This was 1/5 of the total points the team scored. Write and solve an equation to determine the total points the team scored. Let me grab my highlighter here. So we know Alex scored 13 points. Now this was 1/5 or one part of the 5 parts that the total team scored. Write and solve an equation to determine the total points the team scored. So if I take a look at this, what's the unknown? Team points. We don't know how many points the entire team scored. That's the unknown. All I know is that Alex's 13 points are equal to 1/5 of the total points. So Alex's points are equal to, and I know that Alex scored 13 points. Now his 13 points equal 1/5 of the team. So again, I'm taking whatever the team scored and breaking it into 5 parts. I don't know how many points a team scored. I do know that Alex is 1/5 of it, but the whole team, or the whole points, I'm just going to call that, I'm going to call it P for points. Now, here's my equation. And if I think about it, the number of points the team scored divided by 5 would equal Alex's 13. Now, to solve this, I use the inverse operation. So this says the number of points divided by 5 equals 13. I'm going to multiply by 5. I multiply both sides by 5. I'm going to make it 5/1, as I talked about today in class. I can even make this 13/1 if I wanted to. These 5 cancel each other out. So instead of evaluating for 1/5 of P, I'm going to evaluate for 1P. That is equal to 13 times 5. I can do that in my head. That equals 65. Now, I always want to check my work, so I can substitute back in the 65 for P. It now becomes 65 divided by 5 is hopefully equal to 13. We will check. I'll even use a calculator just something I'm lying to you. 65 divided by 5 is equal to 13. So 13 checks 13. So if I were writing my answer on an assessment possibly that I may see in the future, my equation would be, and again the variable doesn't matter unless of course they tell you to use a specific variable, which sometimes they do. So it's total number of points divided into 5 is equal to 13, Alex's part. P equals 65. Okay, let me erase this stuff because I'll use the same area down here to do question 2 with jar candles. Excuse me, got something caught here. Jar candles at the candle company cost $4. Okay. Nikki spent $92 buying jar candles for party favors. Write and solve an equation to determine how many jar candles Nikki bought at the candle company. So she buys jar candles for $4. So that means each jar is $4. She spent a total of $92. Now I know many of you right now, I'm going to write and solve an equation to determine how many jars Nikki bought. Many of you are doing right now 92 divided by 4, which is excellent. That's how you would solve it. But to write the equation, you have to think, I'm going to do the inverse in my equation. You're jumping to division, which is good, but the equation, when it's set up, you won't have division in the equation. You'll actually have the inverse of division, which is multiplication. So you have to ask yourself, what would you be multiplying? Well, we know that it's $4 per jar, and we don't know how many jars she bought, but we know when she was done checking out, she ended up spending $92. So the unknown is number of jars. So because that's my unknown, that would be my variable, and I'm just going to call it J for jars. So there's my equation. Now to go about solving it, I'm just going to use those inverse operations. Excuse me. 4 times J is equal to 92. I want to evaluate for 1J, not 4 of them, so I'll divide both sides by 4. Whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. That cancels out. I am just left with a J over here, which again is really technically 1J. is equal to, okay, 92 divided by 4, that should give me 23, I believe. Let me double check my math. This one's easy enough, I could just do longhand. 4 times what gives me 9? 4 times 2, that gives me 8. I subtract, that's a 1. I bring down the 2. 4 times what gives me 12? 4 times 3. So, there we go. My equation that I started with is right here. Here's my answer for J. I can always substitute 23 back into the original equation. It becomes now 4 times 23 is equal to 92. 4 times 3, 4 times 23, 4 times 3 is 12. Regroup the 110. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 92. 92 checks 92. Hope this helps with this evening's homework. Evening practice, sorry. Take care. Bye.